Instant match reaction, Everton 1, Crystal Palace 1 at Goodison Park this evening. A disappointing result for me, a disappointing performance. Look, I said in the preview earlier this afternoon, it's got to be 3 points today. Anything less than 3 points is simply unacceptable in a game against the side that are arguably, maybe other than Sheffield United, the most out of form side in the Premier League. Coming to Goodison, obviously within a bit of a change of management. They had the assistant managers, I think, there today, obviously, in Roy Hodgson's absence. The new manager doesn't start till tomorrow. They had a number of their key players out injured, and yet we still weren't able to take advantage of that. And this is something I said a couple of weeks ago when, we were speaking about away performances and away results, and I think we spoke a couple of times about Everton going away from home and getting a point, or even the City game, for example, when we all sat here and we said, you know what, it's Manchester City, let's not worry about it too much, let's move on to next week. You can only really look at those away games that we don't win and think, oh yeah, that's a decent point, or it's not too bad going away and getting something, if you're turning up at Goodison Park and you're putting away the teams that you should be putting away. And I firmly believe, even without any points back from the appeal, and we don't know what is going to happen with the appeal. We might get some points back, we mightn't get any back, but even without any back, I still think there's enough winnable games there for Everton to get enough points on the board to stay in this division. Like I said, even without any points back, but that isn't going to happen unless the manager is brave. And I think today falls completely on Sean Dyche. I'll be perfectly honest with you, and I know some people absolutely love Sean Dyche and adore him and completely refuse, to allow him to be criticised. And listen, Dyche has had an incredibly difficult hand to deal with this season, with everything that's going on off the field, with injuries on the field, and I understand it and I appreciate it, and I get that this playing squad isn't the best. We've got absolutely no pace whatsoever. We've got absolutely no creativity whatsoever. And in games like today, it feels like we've got absolutely no ideas. It feels like the players don't have a footballing brain to know when to pass the ball or where to pass the ball. Therefore, you aren't going to win games. But the manager still has to take responsibility. We haven't won a Premier League game since mid-December. Our home form across the entire season, for as good as we've been away from home and for as much as has been happening off the pitch and with injuries and stuff, you cannot get away from the fact that our form at Goodison Park this season has been absolutely embarrassing, and that was another example of it today. And I'm sitting there before the game thinking we've got Burnley, Sheffield United, Forest, Brentford and West Ham all to play at Goodison. Now, personally for me, I think Everton should be winning all of those games, and I know some people will say, but that's not the case, Cam, because the players aren't good enough, X, Y and Z, the players aren't this, the players aren't that. Listen, we missed a couple of big chances today. Dom missed a couple of big opportunities, but I felt sorry for Dom. Today, I'll be honest, because the tactic, the plan seemed to be just lump the ball up to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, that's not great to start with, and it's incredibly difficult to watch, and that is exactly what Everton are at the moment. We are incredibly difficult to watch. I mean, I don't know however many other people thought this today, whether you watched at home or whether you were at Goodison Park, but I was sat there in the game today thinking, wow, this is horrific. It's not enjoyable in the slightest. It's not exciting. It doesn't get you on the edge of your seat. Other than the final 10 minutes, it was one of the worst performances I've seen in a long, long time. In fact, it was one of the worst games of football I've seen in a long, long time. It was like watching a Sunday League game between two of the worst teams in the league. Neither of them can score goals, and neither of them are particularly great at creating chances. It was absolutely horrific. But the manager has to be braver for me. The manager has to want to go out and win these games. I think what we saw today was a very reserved performance. It was almost like a let's not lose this, as opposed to let's go and win this game. And I get people that say, oh, but what's he meant to do? What's he working with? X, Y and Z. But I think there's more than enough in that team, and there's more than enough in those players to be able to say, do you know what, let's be a little bit brave here, let's go for this, let's go for the throat a little bit. We've seen it at times this season, we saw it at times last season, when we went at teams and when we had a go and we put pressure on teams that were struggling. We were able to come away with some big results. But I just don't know what he was thinking tonight. I don't know what the game plan was. I don't know what the system was. I don't know tactically what he was trying to do. One thing is for sure is that I don't think I need to tell anybody that we cannot play the same way at Goodison Park than we do away from home. It just does not work. It suits opposition teams far too much. And our way of playing at Goodison Park at the moment, and tonight showed it, is lump the ball up to Dominic Calvert-Lewin and then hope he does something. And do you know what? I feel sorry for Dom. Dom will be getting a lot of stick tonight because he missed a couple of opportunities. Dom will be getting a lot of, a lot of people saying he's not good enough, he needs to be better, he needs to be this, he needs to be that. I watched Dominic Calvert-Lewin quite closely tonight because, well, I had to. That was the only thing we could do. It was a lump ball up to Dom every time. And every single time that ball gets put up to him in the air, regardless of whether he wins it or not, it feels like there's nobody within a 20-mile radius of him. There was a moment today where Dominic Calvert-Lewin intercepted the ball, got it down to the left-hand side. He was on the left wing. He was ready to do something with it. He had to just play a blind pass because he was running out of play. And Dwight McNeil, who was the left midfielder, was stood on the halfway line. Not right next to him to receive the ball or break him forward. It feels like it gets lumped up to Dom and then everybody else just sort of stands there and waits. The movement, or lack of, should I say, is absolutely embarrassing. And as I said, I've got no huge issue with our main way of playing, be lump it up to Dom and have him hold it up. If that's what the manager believes will work, then that's what, ultimately the manager believes will work. But it doesn't work if you've got nobody within 50 yards of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Dom isn't going to be able to get up, win the header, chase his own header, win the ball back, take 3 players on and then score. And he can't do it all on his own. And it baffles me that is our tactical approach to games. And yet still, every time the ball's lumped to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, there's nobody within distance to get on the header, to get on the end of the flick on, or to pick the ball up and drive with it. I'm not solely blaming Sean Dyche. The playing squad is, let's be honest, it's horrific, isn't it? We've got nobody that can run with the ball. We've got 2 wingers, one of whom is a 38-year-old who plays football like a teenager, in the sense that he just picks the ball up and runs. He's got no idea of what he's doing with it. He's got no end product. He's got no... Considering he's 38 years old and has played at the highest level now for, 20 years, he's clueless when it comes to holding the ball up or giving it out or keeping it or not losing possession. He's clueless, Ashley Young. He's absolutely clueless. He shouldn't be anywhere near the starting 11 of a Premier League side. Dwight McNeil on the other side had 2 or 3 chances to run with the ball, drive with it into space, and because he knows he's not quick enough, he turns back and he passes it back and the attack is completely killed off instantly. And I do feel a little bit for Dyche, I do, because I appreciate that he hasn't got the quality at his disposal. But like I said, this is a team with no pace, absolutely no pace whatsoever, no directness, nobody that wants to run with the ball, nobody that wants to take a risk. It's got very little quality, certainly consistent quality, and we've got absolutely no creativity or end product. And it tells you something when the most exciting moment of the game, our best moment of the game, in my opinion, was when Ben Godfrey drove with the ball into space and created an opportunity. Once an Everton player picked the ball up and drove with it today. That's embarrassing. That is absolutely embarrassing. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, but that was a Crystal Palace team that was effectively saying, come and beat us, we're not ours, we start a new manager tomorrow, fresh new start, we'll go from there. And yet we still didn't have the bravery to get at them. And as I said, I appreciate Dyche hasn't got the playing squad that maybe we'd all like him to have, and we haven't got the quality in there, but sometimes you've just got to think, no, do you know what, we need to win this game. And today was a must win, an absolute must win, and I honestly do believe he's put himself under pressure, because people, you can say what you like, you can say about the points deduction, you can say about the injuries, you can say about everything that's gone on off the pitch, and I'm not saying Dyche has done a horrific job, by the way, but the facts are the facts, and the fact is we haven't won a Premier League game since the middle of December. The middle of December, nearly 2 months. That is sackable form, by the way, and I'm not saying he should be sacked or I want him to be sacked, but that is sackable form. And I get we've had some difficult games in there, we've played some tough away games, but this was the opportunity today to go out there against a team that were there for the taking, go and put a strong performance in and go and win. And we'd all have sat back and gone, do you know what? All right, we hadn't won a game for a couple of months, but we were brilliant today, we deserved that win. and, you know, we can forget about that and we can bounce on now. We've got loads of winnable home games. Instead, I'm walking out thinking, I'm not quite sure I trust Sean Dyche to be able to go and beat Burnley at Goodison, or to be able to go and beat Forest or Sheffield United at Goodison, because the setup is so negative. It's like, don't lose the game as opposed to go and win the game. And I get, as I said, I get players are low on confidence, and I get that the quality isn't necessarily there, but it's sometimes you've got to take risks. A perfect example of this is, he was just about to bring Chimiti on, I think it was, or it might have been Dobbin, but one of the two was literally stripped and ready to come on. We scored the equalising goal, and he sat them back down, as if it was like, right, okay, we'll settle for this now. No, we can't settle for a point against, as I said, with all due respect, against the Crystal Palace side that are arguably the most out-of-form team in the league, certainly one of them, going through a transition with a new manager and with their three best and key, biggest players out injured at Goodison, when we haven't won a Premier League game for 2 months. You can't be a reserved, we'll settle for a draw. At some point, we need to start thinking, no, do you know what, we need to win a game. Because if Everton don't win another game between now and the end of the season, we will be relegated. Unless we get all 10 points back and miraculously somehow can survive on that, which I don't think will happen. I don't think we'll get all 10 back. I think we might get a few back, but I don't think we'll get all 10 back. And that means we've got to be braver in games. And waiting until the 70th minute or 60th minute to make a substitution, when I could have told you at half time Ashley Young shouldn't have been anywhere near that team coming out in the second half, is baffling to me. And then when he did make the substitutions, he takes Garner Gay off, who was probably our best player. Now, I agree, Onana was the right substitute and obviously ultimately come on and scored the equaliser, which is saved Dyche hugely tonight, by the way. Saved Dyche hugely tonight, that equaliser. Without that equaliser, if we go and lose that game, there's a lot more pressure on the manager. And rightly so, by the way, rightly so. I'm sick of this whole, oh no, you can't blame the manager, you can't blame Dyche. What about Calvert-Lewin? He missed 2 chances. He did miss 2 chances, yeah. But what about if we'd have been a little bit braver? What about if we'd have attacked a little bit more? What about if we'd have actually put them under a bit of pressure, actually drove forward, actually looked like we wanted to win the game? Maybe he'd have got a couple of more chances and maybe he'd have scored one of them. The setup from the manager today was wrong, absolutely wrong from the first minute, and it never changed. It never changed. We're Everton fucking Football Club. I get we're in a bit of a shit situation off the pitch. I get on the pitch, we're not blessed with the greatest squad or the greatest of players or the best players in terms of quality, but we're Everton fucking Football Club. We've not won a game of football since December, and we had a perfect opportunity today to go out and win that game. Now, as I said a couple of weeks ago when everyone told me, good point away from home at Spurs, decent point at Villa, against Villa at Goodison Park, decent point against Brighton at Goodison Park, these are good teams, not bad to get a point at Goodison. You're right, it's not bad to get a point at Goodison, as long as you beat Luton at Goodison, as long as you beat Palace at Goodison, as long as you beat teams like Sheffield United, as long as you beat teams that are in and around the same area as you. And we're not doing that. And that is where the worry comes in, for me. I'm not saying that I think the manager should be sacked, and I'm not saying that I think the manager will be sacked, but what I'm saying is, if he isn't going to be brave, then I'm not quite sure if this will work. I'm not quite sure if this will work, because the only way Everton are going to win games of football is if we have a go. And if we want to win. And you know what? If that means we open up a little bit and we leave ourselves slightly exposed, the manager should have enough confidence in that centre-back pairing, who are up there with the highest in terms of clean sheets and defensive statistics all season, to be able to deal with it. He should be able to say, do you know what? You all push forward and try and win the game. Leave them there and don't worry about them. They're good enough to sort themselves out. But no, instead, it's all like reserved. It's almost like every time we get the ball, it's like, oh no, we don't want to go up there. We'll stay here. We'll keep it here. We'll be comfortable. And as I said, that the selection, the fact he made no changes at half time, I think is disgraceful. That's arguably a sackable offence in itself. And the fact that we got an equaliser with 10 minutes to go, the momentum had completely switched. The momentum was with us, and he's about to bring an attacking substitution on, and he changes it and doesn't bring an attacking substitution on to go and win the game. Now, if Dyche had put Dobbin and Chermiti on when it went 1-1 and went balls to the wall to win the game and Everton had conceded the counter-attack, yes, we'd all be fuming and furious, but it would be because of the 60, 70 minutes prior where we were terrible. It wouldn't be because he'd made a couple of attacking changes and we'd lost the game. Not one Evertonian would criticise Sean Dyche, regardless of whether we won, drawn or lost the game, had he have made an attacking substitution when we equalised. But he didn't. Why? Why not just have that little bit of bravery? Why not just say, no, do you know what, let's go for this? We need to win games of football. We can't survive on draws. Because to do that, you have to go and win the games that you don't expect to win then. If we're going to survive on a draw at home to Palace and a defeat to Luton and a draw with, Brighton in a game we should have won, then we need to go and beat Liverpool at Goodison. We need to go and beat Chelsea away. We need to go and beat Brighton away. And we may win a couple of games away because we've been much better away from home this season than we have at home. But that wasn't good enough today. It simply wasn't good enough. Like I said, I thought Gana Gueye was probably our best player. I actually thought Don played well. I don't care if he missed two sitters. I don't care. His job is nigh on impossible. Nigh on impossible at the moment. Because he's got... pardon me. He's got no support around him. And the tactic is lump it up to him. That's all it is. All it is all day. We had one really good moment in the first half. And it come with 2 or 3 one-touch passes. And we nearly created an opportunity for ourselves. But no, the rest of the game, lumped ball up to Dom, and then everybody just stands and goes, well, let's just wait and see what he does with it. Instead of goes, I'm going to run into that space, or I'm going to run into that space, or I'm going to run off him there. We just, yeah. I get it. You know, Ashley Young, in an ideal world, wouldn't be anywhere near Everton. Never mind starting on the right wing for Everton. He can't run. Yeah, There was a moment just before he come off where I think it was Mikalenko played a lovely ball into the space and he's just stood on the halfway line looking as if to say, I can't get to that. Well, what? You've got 2 wingers there that can't run. What are we doing? I get it. He hasn't got the playing squad. Chermiti's not done nothing to prove himself. Dobbin's not done nothing to prove himself. I get it. But that doesn't mean that he can excuse being reserved in games that we've got to go out and win. And for me, that tonight just wasn't good enough. It simply wasn't good enough from the manager. He's got away with one hugely there. Amadou Onana has saved them massively. Absolutely massively. Because there should be pressure piling on him. Because we've had, how many winnable games have we had at Goodison now that we've let slip? That we've lost. Fulham, first game of the season, we should have won, lost. Wolves, should have won, lost. Luton, lost. Palace, drew. You know, games against sides that we should be being able to turn up and beat, that we're not winning. And I sat there 20 minutes before the game and said to all the lads I was with, me dad and stuff, I said, listen, we've got 5 games at Goodison there. We should win 3 of them and draw 2 of them. That'll get us, you know, if we get a few points back from the points deduction, we'll be fine. I watched that today and I'm not sure we'll win any of those games. And we can't afford to not. And a bit like we couldn't have afforded to not win today. Yeah, there you go. Listen, I'm going to do the player ratings tomorrow because it's a bit late now and I want to actually chill before I go to bed. This just took me an hour to drive home. So, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new as well. That would mean a huge, huge amount to me. Big thank you all for watching and we'll see you after.